The CUNI Unit Report provides insights into the structure of human resources and research outputs of individual faculties and institutes, called units, based on data from the internal database, the IS-VEDA system. This video guides the user through the unit report, its key elements, and important details to note when reading the report. The title of each report specifies its type, CUNI unit, which is also indicated with a yellow header, and the name of the unit evaluated, Faculty of Education, followed by a check abbreviation, which also appears in the top left corner. The global page number within a document is printed at the top right and bottom right corners of each page. There is also an alphabetical page numbering at the individual report level, printed in two small side panels. A clickable hyperlink to the table of contents is located in the bottom left corner. Each unit report begins with two sets of summary statistics. The first one, on the left, overviews the personnel of a given unit. The second one, on the right, overviews its research outputs. Information in this part of the report is presented from the most general, such as the total number of persons affiliated with a unit, and the total number of outputs produced by a unit, to more detailed information, such as breakdowns into categories of persons and categories of outputs. For more details about the categorization of persons and outputs, see Appendices 5 and 6. The bottom section of the personnel overview presents the share of persons who produced at least one output during the reference period, overall, and by categories of persons. The bottom section of the outputs overview presents the absolute number and share of outputs indexed in the Web of Science database, published in journals included in the journal citation reports, with an article influence score. The rest of the unit report consists of 4 figures and 2 tables depicting personnel and output statistics in more detail at the level of scientific fields. The list of scientific fields, in each figure, includes those fields that contribute more than 1% of outputs to the total number of outputs produced by a unit. Those fields that exceed a threshold, but are not evaluated at a unit, are printed in strike-through text in the list. All fields below the threshold are aggregated into the group titled residual fields. Fields are ordered by panels visually separated by bold horizontal lines, in areas visually separated by thin lines. Each field name concatenates the abbreviated name of a panel, the name of a research area where a given field belongs to, and the name of each field itself. For more details about the structure of scientific fields, research areas and panels, see Appendix 1. Figure 1. Persons and absolute count outputs across CUNI fields. The left panel of Figure 1 depicts the absolute number of persons, by categories, self-assigned to each field. If a person is self-assigned to more than one field, his or her contribution to the total count is divided by the number of assigned fields. For more details about the counting of persons, see Appendix 4. The right panel of Figure 1 depicts the absolute count of outputs divided into 2 categories, with and without an article influence score. Note that information on qualitative structure and further graphs is available only for outputs with an article influence score. Numbers on the graph represent the total counts of persons, or outputs in each field. Red numbers signal that the count is less than 10 and therefore is rather small for reliable statistical inference. All colors used in this figure: green, for personnel, blue, for outputs with a qualitative structure, and gray, for outputs without a qualitative structure, are used to depict similar indicators consistently throughout the entire document. Figure 2. Gender and age composition of core and contract persons assigned to CUNI fields. This figure shows both absolute counts and shares of persons self-assigned to each field, by gender and age group. Note that only two major categories of persons, core and contract, are represented on this graph. Shares on the right panel are omitted if the total number of persons is less than 10. Figure 3. Fractional counts of outputs with an article influence score by quartiles. This figure shows the structure of outputs, both as absolute numbers and as shares, across different quartiles of the importance of the journals, inferred from their article influence score. Journals in the top decile and top quartile of the rankings have the greatest scientific importance. For more details about the assignment of journals to importance quartiles, see Appendix 3. It is important to note that counts of outputs in this figure are represented by fractions, prorated according to the number of co-authors affiliated with a unit, and the total number of co-authors listed on each output. For more details about counting of outputs, see Appendix 4. The percentage, shown next to the field name on the graph, indicates the share of authors who contributed to the most influential outputs of a unit in a given field. The lower this share is, the greater is the degree of concentration of the most influential outputs across a small number of authors. It is calculated as the number of authors who contributed to the top 10% of outputs in terms of their article influence score, produced by a unit in a given field, divided by the total number of authors in a given unit and field. Figure 4. Fractional counts of outputs with article influence score by quartiles, across 4 fields. This figure is similar to Figure 3 above, except that an international categorization of scientific fields, FORD, is used in this graph. Each output, depending on the journal in which it is published, is assigned to one or more FORD fields from the OECD structure of fields, listed in Appendix 2. In the beginning of this appendix, you can find more information about the assignment of outputs to FORD fields. More details at the level of FORD fields appear in the international, national, and internal comparative reports. Table 1. CUNI fields of the unit, fractional counts of outputs with article influence score by FORD fields. This table shows how CUNI fields, where outputs of a unit are assigned to, contribute to FORD fields, where journals belong to. For example, outputs in journals with an article influence score, in the CUNI field of psychology, are published in journals that belong to these FORD fields, psychology and cognitive sciences being the most frequent one. Only the 5 largest FORD fields are listed for each CUNI field. The percentages next to the field names represent the shares of fractional counts of outputs in each CUNI field, out of the unit's total, and the shares of outputs in each FORD field, out of the CUNI field's total. Table 2. Number of outputs in top field journals. This table lists journals in the top decile, according to their article influence score. Only those journals, in which a unit has published its outputs, are listed in the table. Journals are grouped by the CUNI output fields. Each journal name is coupled with 3 numbers, its article influence score, and the fractional and absolute counts of outputs assigned by a unit to the CUNI field and published in that journal. Note that a single journal may appear multiple times in the table when outputs published in this journal are assigned to different CUNI fields. Blue color of numbers signals that the ratio of a fractional count of outputs divided by an absolute count is below the benchmark ratio, calculated for all journals in total. To return back to specific sections of this video, see the list of quick links in the description text below. You can also find there a list of quick links to all 7 videos.